Franklin County Commissioner's Office, Commissioner meeting, April 3rd, 2018. Franklin County Commissioners meeting, April 3rd, 2018.
What's that?
Love you now.
Oh, myself.
We're invited there.
Yeah, well, I got the memo. Well, good morning, everybody. Today is Tuesday, April 3rd, 2018. At this time, we'll call to order the regular weekly meeting of the Franklin County Board of Commissioners. And this time has been our tradition to do the pledge, and if you care to join me, please do. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are you taking bets, Andrew, on the tie?
I was hoping that I was going to be the butt of some jokes today. Sadly, going to be disappointed.
Well, I'm in good company. I'm not sure about you.
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure we've got phones turned off. Good there. Short agenda today. First item is public comment. And I'm looking around the room at everybody I see except for Mr. Mullen. We do have a visitor this morning. Anything you care to share with the board? Give us an update on those pesky wolves up north, maybe?
Killed another cat last week.
Yeah. Well, we can chat later perhaps, but I did go to the Eastern Washington Council of Governments meeting up in Davenport last week, and a lot of discussion was on wolves and the reintroduction of prisons. So I'll be happy to fill you in later. Okay, moving on. Next item of business is office business, and this is where we pay our bills.
Chairman, looks as though we have two this morning. First being I move for approval of fund expenditures. Looks like there's about a dozen miscellaneous. Current expense, jail commissary, county roads, veterans assistance, etc. for $286,952.85. Keith has looked these over, and Matt Beaton and Macy Stein have co-signed.
I will second the motion.
Got a motion and a second for approval of the payroll items just motioned. Any comments or questions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those are approved.
Second and final, I move for approval of fund expenditures, salary clearing, payroll, and emergency management payroll. The bottom line of those two items is $975,959.00.
Second the motion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second for approval of those pay items. Any other comments or questions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Approved as well.
Have no further.
We've got 7 items on the consent agenda. Are there any that anyone wishes to separate out for individual consideration? If not, a motion to approve as presented would be in order.
I move that we approve the consent agenda 1 through 7.
I would second.
Okay, there's a motion for approval of consent and a second as presented. Any comments or questions on any of these topics? Okay, just got a quick one. Keith, you and I talked yesterday about a little bit of apparent discrepancy between a bid amount and an actual dollar amount. Was that on number 2, I think it was?
Yeah, the county road maintenance project.
It's 207 versus 239, something like that.
Yeah. Yes, I spoke with the county engineer this morning regarding that. They felt it was necessary to add some riprap to support the project, so we
expanded the scope.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Change order for that.
Yeah, great. Item 3, the Pasco Colotus Highway reconstruction. That was slated, I think, to start 2020, and I had a couple of questions about timing of the proposed Juniper Dunes Road and this project and how those two might or might not intersect. So do we know the timing on the Juniper Road, the start time for that? And is there a reason that this one is waiting until 2020?
Mr. Mahoney's in the office, so he may be able to address those a little better. I have spoken with him and with the county engineer on both this project as well as the Dunes project. As far as the Dunes goes, we're waiting on just final paperwork from the landowner to give us the necessary rights of way, and once that's completed, the federal government needs to provide some easement documentation. But that project is moving forward as scheduled.
And so, I'm sorry, the start time for that is likely to be, I would guess,
Probably, what, late this year, Matt, or next year? On the Juniper Dunes construction, when do you guys expect to turn your?
Yeah, Premier was the last one, and that was an access issue. Sounds like we've got that resolved. We're waiting to sign documents. I'm just looking to see when do we start moving dirt.
Correct. We've been informed by our consultant that they actually have received the final signed documents from Premier. We thought that we would see those forwarded to us yesterday. We hadn't. Once we receive those, we'll put forth a voucher to pay them. That will complete the process with them. There's still a few more hurdles that we need to go through with Western Federal Lands. Both federal agencies stated that they will not grant us the appropriate easements for the road on the federal land until we've secured all the right-of-way. So once we can prove that we secured all the right-of-way, they'll then approve the easement documents for the road to be constructed, and then at that point there's some review by them of our specifications that needs to happen. So for all intent purpose, we feel like we're shovel ready right now, but we still have to go through some of these hurdles with the federal agencies that we're dealing with, the Bureau of Land Management and Western Federal Lands.
Okay.
So we're hopeful that we'll be this summer.
We got two more administrative steps that are out of our control. We don't really know how long they're going to take.
Correct.
Okay. Thanks, Mike.
And do you want me to answer the question on Pasco Colonis?
Oh, on the PK, that's start of 2020. Is that waiting on funding? What is that?
Yes, the majority of the funding for that project is coming through the County Road Administration Board, RAP funding, Rural Arterial Preservation funding, and Commissioner Cook probably speak to this. They're having some cash flow issues with that, and so they're pushing projects off. So it has been awarded, the funding is available, but they push
that's
ours off.
administrative financial grab. What I was curious about was not having that section of the PK Highway torn up while you're trying to obviously bring in equipment to build the Juniper Dunes Road. I didn't know if you were staging and timing that to avoid a conflict there, or if it was something else, and you just gave us the answer as something else.
Yeah, something
Okay,
else.
thanks, Matt.
Great, thank you.
All right, so we have a motion second for approval of consent as presented. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Consent agenda is approved as presented. Thank you. Let's see, on to administration office business. Mr. Johnson.
Yes, I just have a request for an executive session under RCW 42.30.110, paragraph 1, subparagraph C, real estate sale and price. I request that the treasurer, Joseph Kelzer, her deputy Andrew Hicks, and staff member Whitney Skelton be allowed to participate in that, probably up to 20 minutes.
Okay. Are you anticipating needing action after that, or is that unknown?
Probably unknown at this point.
Okay. All right. I know the topic. I suspect the other commissioners do too. I doubt that it's going to take us up to 20, but we can go in for that length. I'm going to guess it's going to take us more like 10 or 15 tops. And then we'll be back in session as soon as possible. Yeah, maybe. This is RCW 4230.110.1C, real estate sale, and up to 20 minutes starting at 9:10. Okay, it is 9:25. We have completed our executive session under RCW 4231-10-1C. That was for real estate sale consideration. Good discussion in executive session. Appreciate everybody's participation. And I'll pause long enough if any member of the board wishes to motion for action based on the discussion we just had. Obviously, we won't take any action in the executive session. And if after a moment's delay we don't have a motion for action, then we'll move on to the rest of the agenda.
I'm sorry, if we could get into some discussions about further down the road with, like I say, this is the third time this one piece of property has been brought up in the years that I've been here, and why would we even entertain an idea of selling? If there was, I think that we have sold properties naturally, but not so discreet as these.
In my experience, the reasons typically are either it puts it back on the tax roll, generating taxes for the county and the city and tax districts, as little as that may be. Secondarily, it may aid in economic development if you've got a business that wants to come into the area and likes that site or location. Short of those two things, I've really never heard of what I thought was a compelling reason for selling these parcels.
Going through that right now up in Connell also, that the Connell Development Association has had an acre and a half left over from the 4.5 acre parcel they bought from me years ago. There was just some interest in it recently, and the person that was contacting me was from a company over in Seattle, and it's kind of the same scenario as this. You can't find out any background of them, and his discussion was, well, if somebody is in business in Connell that wants to expand, and I said, well, I would have to get our principals together, principals of this LLC that we're in, to discuss it. What's the business? Which business? What kind of business? And once I asked that question, the conversation went away. They're just out fishing for properties for they know enough for them.
Well, I'm inclined to say that if we can identify a productive and beneficial reason for selling them, then we ought to entertain a discussion as we've just done today. But I'm not inclined to think that we ought to be selling properties unless we have a specific reason.
Agreed.
Tax value back or economic development or something, or maybe in some cases simply being a good neighbor with one of our cities. But anyway, not hearing any motions for any action, we'll move on. And thanks to the Treasurer's Office for the presentation this morning. Whitney, nice job. Next time you don't need to bring all these folks. You just do it. Okay, so let's see. That gets us further into administration office business. There was a note that I gave to Keith. I have to refresh my memory briefly because I asked you to remind me of this. And this was the Washington State Supplemental Budget contains new requirements related to the criminal justice treatment account. And since April 1st of 16, those dollars have been contracted and administered by the DHO or ASOs in each region. And those are provided for substance abuse disorder treatment and treatment support activities, including treatment services for individuals participating in drug courts. And it says that if your county is intending to administer these funds, that contract directly with us, and funding will be provided beginning in July of this year, 2018. Up to 10% of the funds may be used for administration So I wanted to raise the topic because I saw it and I suspect that others are more well versed in these details than I am. But it reads to me that we've got until April 23rd to let the folks at the state know if they want these funds. And my guess is we probably do. So with that, maybe others can add to the discussion and enlighten me, because it's not my strongest area this morning.
Well, I would think that's what we went into with thinking of this, and we've been waiting for some kind of sign this is going to go through. I think that this, and again, is it Denton Franklin County situation?
Here's the,
I read it.
you got the same.
My understanding was they were asking whether the county's intended to manage the fund directly
Right.
or allow
CAC or somebody, somebody in
VHO to do it.
Okay.
It's historically the way we've done it. And as mentioned, the counties have a right of first refusal whether we want to administer those funds directly.
Yeah. And we went from an RSN to a BHO. Commissioner Cook, maybe you can shed some light on the status of the BHO now.
Well, and at this particular juncture, it's pretty much up in the area. It's heading for 2020, obviously. Unfortunately, the state has no idea what they're doing, so please avoid all the way down the chain.
Well, I think I heard you a while back in a meeting. I think it was you made reference to the fact that as the role of the VHO falls further into question and money becomes less certain, that staff there are either departing or likely would. And so I'm wondering if we're at risk of the BHO staff going on to other things, is that the agency that would want to administer these funds? Maybe the county should do it. Maybe the county could do it as an interim until we're back on their feet. What do you think?
Well, the statement that I made about the help jump ship was the fact that in 2020, Greater Columbia VHO, ASO, whatever you want to call it, is history. There is no one. And that was my only statement about that, is that people are going to be looking for jobs, and because the fact 2020 is definitely an end result, that I think anybody that would wait until 2020, unless they're getting ready to retire, would be foolish for them to wait until 2020. That was my thought on that aspect as far as the people not being there.
Does it seem to you?
How long is this revenue supposed to? I guess I don't remember reading that letter.
Yeah, they sent it to me as a District 1 commissioner, and I'm pretty sure you both got copies as well. See if I can find it here. Newer updated plans for all regions are due by October 1st, 2018. Contracts with big requirements for reporting expenditures. I'm almost wondering if Kyle Sullivan should be in the middle of this discussion.
So that was going to be my next thought. Kyle's out this week, but
I think we've got to have Keith get with Kyle. Now that we've had an initial discussion, have him come in next week and give us a recommendation. My thinking, at least based on what I know about it so far, is that we probably ought to keep the funds at the county and let Kyle administer them for us.
That's right. I saw the letter, but I glanced through it simply because I knew we had more discussion on this. And I did receive it.
Yeah, I've never served on the RSN with VHO. You both have. That's why.
No, I haven't.
Oh, I thought you had. So
it was a little over my head too, or a little misunderstanding of the direction to go. At this point, I think Kyle's a good direction, though. I think that would be wise.
you on board with that approach?
very much so. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And I'll just get that letter from you later.
Yeah.
Take your time with it. Here's there's some additional information that goes with it. Third sheet has a dollar amount too. It's not huge, I don't think. But. Okay. Do we have other business this morning, Keith? No. Okay. I've just got one other item, which is we've all acknowledged in the past that the role of the chair is largely an administrative function, and I think one of the administrative functions that the board is responsible for is to track the population of citizens by district and make sure that we're complying with state law. State law, as I read it, requires that if we're more than 10% out of balance, and it's been an important word, and it's been more than 4 years since we redistricted, that we shall, not may or should, but we shall, we will redistrict. So I'm in the process of preparing some proposals for the board's consideration. There is a public hearing involved before any districts can change, so there'll be plenty of discussion. I'm going to prepare 2 or 3 options that I think closely follow the statutes and what they tell us are required. And I'll make sure that it gives a broad set of options, and I think that makes for a good starting point where the board can then have discussions as to which one we prefer. Obviously, if adjustments need to be made, then that's part of the process as well. But rather than go through the lengthy and I think potentially agonizing process of setting up an external committee and bringing in a bunch of folks and drafting them, I'll simply draft some options to give us plenty of flexibility, and then we can use those as a launching platform, and the board can make a board decision going from there.
So the question is, do you have the, you said administration, I don't know if you have the duty to make maps and decide on these. In fact, in the future here with the new laws that are coming around with the state, it appears as the redistricting, the elections is getting an overhaul or a big discussion with the state. And
I need to correct you. I'm not making maps and I'm not making decisions. I was very clear. I'm preparing what I think are some options for the board to consider as a starting point for a discussion. Only the board makes decisions.
So with that, wouldn't that be probably better to have maybe a community organization committee or something do that, such as get other people involved? And I think that's one of the things that the state's going to be looking at.
Well, I would say that because we are out of compliance now, and I just got the numbers here in the last 24 hours or so, we're out of compliance. I think we need to do it before the filing period for this year so people have updated districts. Time is of the essence given the short calendar. There is a public hearing required. Personally, I don't favor creating a committee to do this. I think it's unnecessary. We can create options. The board is obviously not bound to any of those options. They're starting points, they're platforms. I think that's a reasonable approach. If you object to that, then I guess we'll defer to Commissioner Cook whether or not he thinks that three options that are very different from one another and all comply with the statute's directions. So if he thinks that that's a suitable approach, then that would be a board decision. If he favors setting up a committee, then that would be a board decision.
A couple of questions. One is I read that legislative districts are 10% out of state. I don't know about local, but that's fine because I do realize I have about 33,000. You guys have about 28 plus. So, in my sense, if anything should be done, we should shave some of that off and give Mr. Cook, Commissioner Cook position, and also your position, because I am concerned about gerrymandering, and that is a big issue that's coming through. That when you make your own districts or anything like that, that could be, that's a felony. That could be.
Are you suggesting that the county has or is engaging in gerrymandering activity?
No, but it could. It could appear that way. It's perception. If we draw lines and we do certain things, that's my only concern. I don't have a huge problem with making some adjustments ourselves, as long as they're contiguous and they go, pretty much picture what we have. But the census will be coming out in 2020, and of course it takes a year, and that's actually the real formal numbers, because right now it's just predictions and estimations.
By that point, we'll be 3 years past the date in which we knew that we were out in
The census in 2020, we won't see it until
2021.
2022.
Yeah, well, that's brings the point of just shaving some off to make it more adjustable, rather than go through maps and different things like this. Maybe there's a
You
map.
can't just shave it off. You're going to have to
Draw lines.
Draw lines.
Precincts. Well, you can.
And set the districts.
I would offer that perhaps, rather than prejudge an outcome, it might be wise to simply wait and see the proposed options and then function as a board.
I don't support a committee.
You don't support a committee?
No.
Okay. Well, then, I just think that's going to become a big issue with the elections, of what I'm reading with the governor's new election standards, but
I'm not aware the governor has created any.
no, he's working on it, though. He's working on it. There's some legislation out there that they're working on. But at the same time, I don't have a problem with adjusting some of these numbers. I think time is running out. I think, did you have a deal with Wasatch where it was 30 days before?
It turned out 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
I've been trying to find that Varsity, and I don't know that it ever got passed.
Yeah, I don't know if it ever did either. I don't know. I can't.
I changed my 30 days to 2 weeks. I know that one, but I didn't say it.
Okay, well, that sounds fair that we take a look at it, but I will tell you that as fast as we're moving, some of these precincts are going to have to get changed, or districts have to get changed again in a few years, because they
One of the things we probably should consider as we adjust these boundaries is perhaps what's called a lead turn.
That's
to
true.
artificially make one of them a little smaller than the others, if we can, with some degree of certainty, predict what district is likely to grow the most, and I think we can. So anyway, that was under administration office business, just informing the board of what I'm doing in that regard. Are there other topics that anybody wishes to discuss at this point?
I have nothing. I was at risk pool last week, but it really was no different information than what I brought back from the executive board.
Okay.
More of the same, went through some breakout sessions that scare the heck out of people when you sit down and listen to people like Suzanne Michaels, for instance, and labor law.
Going to get expensive, I believe.
Well, and I kind of brought that up with today's high prices are in all the markets. So.
Okay, and let's see, end of last week, Friday, I attended the Eastern Washington Council of Governments meeting in Davenport. I made a previous reference to it, I think, briefly. We talked about a wide range of issues. Obviously, they have great concerns about wolves, specifically timber wolves up in northern part, and also that Secretary of the Interior Zinke made a recent swing through northern part of the state and the west side, and was looking at some habitat, and apparently has come out, according to the group, and suggested that he favors reintroduction of grizzly bears into that part of Washington, north and northeast, and perhaps across the Cascades. I have a lot of detail. I wasn't there when he was speaking. This is secondhand, but there's an awful lot of concern about that. There were reports within the group that some of the wolf packs have been sighted as far south as the Juniper Dunes vicinity, which obviously is of interest to us. The bylaws for the Eastern Washington Council of Governments says that to join their membership, a county has to border the Columbia or be contiguous with an existing member, and Adams County is a member. We're contiguous with them, and obviously the Boards of Columbia, so we're eligible to join that group if we want. I was there as one of the Wasatch, Eastern Washington representatives wearing my Wasatch hat. If Franklin County has a desire to join the group, since I'm already attending wearing that hat, I would be happy to represent the county's interest there as well. There is no cost to join. I will share the bylaws and other material I have about them with Keith, who can give them to you, and we can maybe talk about this more at a future meeting. There's no pressing issue or reason that I see that we need to, but it is a good group. Some of the members that were there were Art Swanek from Whitman and John, I think it's Clark, I'm forgetting his last name, from Adams. Commissioners also from Grant, Okanagan, Ferry, Lincoln. Scott Hutzel was there, Wes McCart, a number of names that you all recognize, Commissioner Blankenship, and let's see, those are the ones that come to mind right now. So anyway, that's for future consideration. I'm going to continue to go as the Wasatch rep. All right, anything else that we need to cover? We're a short meeting today.
I just mentioned that I was at attended the Newhouse public open meeting yesterday. Well, actually was invited for leaders roundtable and discussion of the dams and what was the next step since this bill had not passed. And there's just quite discussion, different ideas and things brought up about the Columbia Treaty. Discussions were made about that, and then we went on to what we can do about dams. And just to let everybody know, Pasco Chamber and a few other groups are going to have a Riverfest September 8th. And that Riverfest is going to be basically on protecting dams. It's going to be a large, a lot of PUDs and et cetera involved in that. And then afterwards, after the roundtable came out, it was on the media, news stations, and others we discussed and had different speakers go up and discuss their issues also about dam teardown.
Okay, anything else? Last call. We're adjourned. Thanks.